I never thought a weekend escape to the Smoky Mountains with my husband, Tom, and his closest friends would turn my world upside down. I'm Megan, and for 18 years, Tom and I have built a life of steady love, weathered by storms, but held together by unbreakable trust. Or so I believed. As we set up camp under the ancient pines, laughter and beer flowed freely, but something darker lingered in the air, a tension I couldn't name. Then, with Tom out gathering firewood, the night took a turn I never saw coming, leaving me drowning in guilt and fear. Now, as I face him with the truth burning in my chest, I can't help but wonder, does he already know what I've done? Picture this. I'm standing in my driveway, the early morning sun glinting off the chipped paint of our old trailer, a rusty beast we've affectionately dubbed Old Betsy. There's a certain smell to the air today, a mix of dew on the grass and the faint tang of gasoline that tells me adventure is just around the corner. I'm Megan, 45 years young, and I've got a backpack slung over one shoulder, my hands busy double-checking the straps on our gear. This isn't just any weekend. This is our annual escape to the Smoky Mountains, a tradition that's been carved into the calendar of my life with my husband Tom for the last 10 years. Tom's 47, a contractor with hands rougher than the bark on the trees we'll be hiking past, and a heart that somehow stayed soft for me through 18 years of marriage. We've weathered storms, figurative ones mostly, times when we've screamed until our throats were raw, and others when we've held each other so tight it felt like the world couldn't touch us. Our marriage isn't perfect, but it's steady, like the slow roll of a river that knows its path. We've built a life of routine, of quiet evenings and early mornings, and these trips, they're our chance to break free, to remember why we fell for each other under a sky full of stars. Tom's over by the trailer now, wrestling with a cooler that's seen better days, muttering under his breath about how we always pack too much. I can't help but smile. That's us, over-prepared, over-committed, but always in it together. This year, though, we're not alone. Tom's 4 best friends are piling into their own trucks, ready to join us for the long weekend. These guys have been his inner circle since their college days, a brotherhood I've always respected from a distance. There's Jake, 46, the loudmouth who owns a bar downtown and never runs out of wild tales, half of which I'm pretty sure he's made up on the spot. His laugh is like a foghorn, impossible to ignore, and it's already echoing across the driveway as he slaps Tom on the back. Then there's Ryan, 43, the quiet one, an accountant who keeps his thoughts close but drops these dry, biting quips that catch you off guard. He's leaning against his car, arms crossed, watching the chaos with a smirk. Ethan, 45, is the fitness nut of the group, always pushing us to go harder, hike farther, climb higher. He's already in his gear, doing stretches like we're about to run a marathon instead of drive 6 hours. And finally, there's Caleb, 44, the smooth-talking salesman who could charm the bark off a tree. He's got a grin that makes you trust him, even when you probably shouldn't, and he's tossing a football back and forth with Jake like they're still frat boys. I've been on plenty of road trips with Tom and the guys before, but there's something about this drive up to the Smoky Mountains that feels different, heavier somehow, though I can't quite put my finger on why. The journey starts with the familiar rumble of Old Betsy's tires on the highway, but as we veer off onto the winding mountain roads, the gravel crunches under us, uneven and jarring. The trailer rattles with every bump, and I glance over at Tom, his hands tight on the steering wheel, a determined grin etched on his face like he's conquering some unspoken challenge. His knuckles are white, but that grin, it's the same one I fell for all those years ago, stubborn and full of grit. I roll down the window, letting the cool mountain air rush in, carrying the sharp scent of pine and damp earth. It's a smell that grounds me, pulls me out of my head, and I take a deep breath, watching the trees grow denser as we climb higher. The world outside feels ancient, untouched, like we're intruders on some sacred ground. After 5 long hours, we finally reach our spot, a secluded clearing nestled deep in the forest, surrounded by towering pines that seem to stretch endlessly into the sky. The late afternoon sun filters through the branches, casting golden rays that dance across the ground, painting everything in a warm, almost ethereal glow. I step out of the trailer, my legs stiff from the drive, and stretch, feeling the ache melt away as I take in the quiet beauty of this place. The guys pile out behind me, their voices breaking the stillness. Jake's the first to speak, of course, cracking a jab at Tom's parking job, something about how he couldn't parallel park a bicycle if his life depended on it. His bark of a laugh echoes through the clearing, and I can't help but smirk. Ethan, on the other hand, doesn't waste a second, already unloading gear with the focus of a man on a mission, his movements sharp and efficient. Ryan's quieter, as always, taking a slow walk around the perimeter of the campsite, his eyes scanning the area before he points out the flattest spot for the tent with a nod, like he's calculated every angle. Caleb sidles up to me, offering to help with the cooler, flashing that signature grin of his that's equal parts charming and dangerous. I wave him off with a playful roll of my eyes, but I'm grateful for the offer as we haul the heavy thing out together. Setting up the tent is a group effort, and it's clear our old, weathered canvas shelter has seen better days. The fabric is faded, patched in places from past trips, but it still holds strong, a testament to all the memories we've made under it. Tom naturally takes charge, barking orders in that good-natured way of his voice carrying over the rustle of leaves. "Megan, grab that pole." "Yeah, that one." "Ethan, quit flexing and hammer those stakes in." I catch his eye, and as the sun dips below the horizon, the Smoky Mountains seem to close in around us, the air growing heavy with the kind of silence that presses against your skin. Night falls fast here, swallowing the golden glow that had warmed our campsite just hours ago, leaving us in a darkness so thick it feels alive. We're huddled together near the center of the clearing, the campfire still unlit because Tom hasn't come back with the firewood yet. He'd wandered off into the woods over an hour ago, promising to return with an armful of dry branches, but the wait stretches on, and a tiny seed of unease plants itself in my chest. For now, we've got a battery-powered lantern perched on a stump, its harsh, clinical light carving deep shadows into our faces, making us look like strangers to each other. Every flicker of movement seems exaggerated, every expression sharper, almost sinister, in the unnatural glow. The beers have been flowing since we settled in, cold cans pulled from the cooler one after another, the sharp hiss of each tab a small rebellion against the quiet. Jake, with that mischievous glint in his eye, suddenly produces a flask of whiskey from his jacket pocket, the amber liquid catching the lantern light as he passes it around with a wink that promises trouble. I take it when it comes to me, tipping it back for a swig, and the burn races down my throat, raw and fierce, spreading warmth through my chest. It's a jolt, a reminder that I'm here, in this moment, far from the routines and rules of everyday life. The conversation, which started with easy banter about old times and dumb pranks, begins to shift as the night deepens, the alcohol loosening our tongues. Ethan, usually so guarded behind his fitness obsession, starts talking about his divorce, his voice cracking with a pain I've never heard from him before. He stares into the darkness beyond the lantern's reach, confessing how empty he's felt since she left, how he's been running, literally and figuratively, to outpace the ache. Ryan, always the quiet observer, surprises me by opening up too, admitting he's been feeling trapped in his own marriage, like he's just going through the motions. His words hang heavy, and I can see the weight of them in the way his shoulders slump. Caleb, ever the charmer, senses the mood dipping too low and steers us toward lighter ground, his voice smooth as silk as he turns his attention to me. He tosses out playful comments, teasing about how I've still got it after all these years, his grin daring me to play along. I laugh at first, brushing it off with a wave of my hand, but there's an edge to his tone, a spark in his eyes that I can't ignore. The air between us all starts to crackle, charged with something I can't quite name, a tension that builds with every shared look, every accidental brush of skin. I'm tipsy now, the whiskey and beer blurring the edges of my thoughts, my inhibitions slipping away like mist in the morning sun. I start noticing things I hadn't before, The way Jake's gaze lingers on me a little too long, heavy with unspoken intent, or how Ethan's hand grazes mine when he hands over the flask, his touch lingering just a heartbeat past casual. My skin prickles, hyper-aware, and I catch myself wondering if I'm imagining it or if there's something real in the way the atmosphere has shifted. I glance at my watch, the numbers glowing faintly in the dark, and realize Tom's been gone for over an hour now. That seed of worry in my chest sprouts a little taller, and I mention it aloud, my voice cutting through the haze of conversation. "Shouldn't he be back by now?" I ask, trying to keep the concern out of my tone. The guys wave it off, their reassurances quick and casual. "He's fine, Megan," Ryan says, his voice steady, probably just taking his time. "You know how he gets lost in his head out there." Jake chuckles, adding, "Yeah, he's likely having a deep convo with a squirrel or something." I force a smile, wanting to believe them, but the unease lingers. Here I am, sitting inside the tent, the air thick with a silence so heavy it feels like it could crush me. My hands are trembling as I fumble with my jacket, trying to pull myself together after what just happened. The lantern's harsh light casts jagged shadows on the canvas walls, and I can barely look at the others. Jake's sitting across from me, his usual boisterous energy snuffed out, replaced by a muttered, "This was a mistake, wasn't it?" His voice is low, almost a growl, like he's angry at himself more than anyone else. Caleb, always the one to smooth things over, forces a chuckle, but it falls flat, a hollow sound that only makes the tension worse. "Hey, we got carried away. No big deal," he says, but I can hear the strain behind his words. Ethan won't even meet my eyes, his gaze fixed on some invisible spot on the tent floor, his jaw tight like he's holding back a storm. And Ryan, poor Ryan, he's just staring at the ground, his face drained of color, looking like he might be sick. I can't blame him. My own stomach is churning, a mix of guilt and fear twisting inside me like a knife. My mind is racing, spinning out of control with thoughts of Tom. Where is he? It's been way too long since he left to gather firewood. Did he hear something? Did he sense the shift in the air before he even walked away? I can't shake the image of him standing just outside the tent, listening as things spiraled into territory we can't come back from. My breath catches in my throat, and I know I can't stay in here a second longer. I need air. I need to clear my head. I stumble to my feet, ignoring the way the guys tense up as I move, and I push through the tent flap into the night. The cool mountain air hits me like a slap, sharp and biting, snapping me out of the haze that's been clouding my thoughts. I gulp it down, trying to steady myself, but my heart is pounding so loud I can hear it in my ears, a relentless drum that won't let me think straight. The woods are eerily still, the kind of quiet that feels wrong, like the world is holding its breath. Somewhere in the distance, an owl hoots. A lonely, haunting sound that sends a shiver down my spine. I strain my ears, listening for any sign of Tom. Footsteps, a rustle of leaves, anything. But there's nothing. Just that suffocating silence. Panic starts to creep in, clawing at the edges of my mind. What if something's happened to him? What if he's hurt, or lost, or worse? I can't let myself go there, but the thoughts keep coming, relentless. "Tom!" I call out, my voice trembling, cracking under the weight of my fear. It echoes into the darkness, swallowed by the trees, and I wait, holding my breath for a response that doesn't come. My hands clench into fists at my sides, and I feel the sting of tears pricking at my eyes, but I blink them away. I can't fall apart now, not yet. Behind me, I hear the rustle of the tent flap, and the guys step out. Their faces a mix of guilt and concern in the dim glow of the lantern light they've brought with them. Jake rubs the back of his neck, looking uncomfortable as he speaks up. "We should go look for him, Megan. He's been gone too long." His tone is gruff, but there's a flicker of worry in his eyes that mirrors my own. I hesitate, my chest tightening. Part of me is terrified to face Tom, to see the look in his eyes if he knows what went down while he was gone. But the other part, the bigger part, is scared for his safety, scared that something's wrong out there in the dark. I nod, swallowing hard, and we grab the flashlights from the gear pile. The beams cut through the blackness like knives, illuminating patches of underbrush and tree trunks as we start walking in the direction Tom headed earlier. Every step feels heavier than the last, like I'm trudging through mud, each footfall echoing in the oppressive quiet of the forest. My flashlight beam dances across gnarled roots and jagged rocks, but all I can think about is Tom. Is he okay? Does he know? The guilt sits like a stone in my gut, heavy and unyielding, mixing with the raw fear that something might have happened to him out here. The guys are fanned out behind me, their own light slicing through the dark, their breathing uneven. I can feel the weight of what we've done hanging over us, an unspoken shadow that no amount of searching can shake off. Every rustle of leaves, every snap of a twig underfoot makes my heart jump, half expecting to see Tom step out from behind a tree with that look of betrayal I dread. Then, there he is. I freeze mid-step, my breath catching in my throat as I spot him emerging from the woods just ahead. The dim light of our flashlights catches his silhouette first, broad and familiar, before illuminating his face, or at least trying to. His expression is unreadable, shrouded in the half-dark, and it sends a chill down my spine. He's carrying a bundle of firewood under one arm, the axe slung casually over his shoulder, the blade glinting faintly as it catches the beam of my light. For a split second, I let myself hope. Maybe he doesn't know. Maybe he's just been out here, lost in thought, gathering what we need for the fire. But as he steps closer, I see it. The hardness in his eyes, sharp and cold, like a winter storm brewing. His jaw is clenched tight, a muscle twitching just beneath the skin, and my stomach drops so fast I feel like I might be sick right there on the forest floor. "Hey, Tom," I stammer, my voice betraying me with its shakiness. "You okay? We were getting worried." The words tumble out too fast, too desperate, and I curse myself for sounding so weak. He doesn't answer right away, and that silence, it's worse than anything he could say. Instead, his gaze slides past me, locking onto the guys one by one. I can feel the suspicion rolling off him in waves, thick and suffocating as he studies each of them. Jake's forced, casual stance, Ethan's tense shoulders, Ryan's pale face, and Caleb's too smooth attempt at a neutral expression. My skin prickles under the weight of his stare, even though it's not on me. I know he senses something's off, and the realization makes my chest tighten until I can barely breathe. Finally, he speaks, his voice low and controlled, each word deliberate, like he's measuring every syllable. "Why do y'all look so nervous?" There's no accusation there, not yet, but the question cuts through the night air like a blade, sharp and precise. I open my mouth to respond, to deflect, to do anything to ease the tension, but my voice cracks as I force out a weak, "We were just worried about you, that's all. You were gone a long time." It sounds hollow, even to my own ears, and I know he can tell something's wrong. Behind me, I hear the guys shift uncomfortably, their boots scuffing against the dirt, their unease mirroring the storm raging inside me. I want to turn and look at them to see if they're as panicked as I am, but I can't tear my eyes away from Tom. He doesn't say anything for a long moment, just stands there, his gaze heavy and unyielding. Then, with a sudden, jarring motion, he drops the bundle of firewood to the ground. The thud echoes through the stillness, making me flinch, and for a heartbeat, I'm convinced he's about to confront us, to let loose whatever he's holding back. I brace myself, my heart hammering so hard I'm sure he can hear it, but instead, he just turns, his movements slow and deliberate, and starts walking back toward the campsite. "Come on," he says over his shoulder, his tone flat, almost emotionless. "Follow me." There's no room for argument in his voice. No. As we trail behind Tom back to the campsite, the weight of the night presses down on me like a physical force, each step heavier than the last. The flashlights flicker over the uneven ground, but all I can focus on is the rigid set of his shoulders ahead of me, the way he moves with a purpose that feels almost menacing in its silence. My mind is a storm of regret and dread, replaying those forbidden moments in the tent when boundaries were crossed, when laughter turned into something darker, something I can't undo. It's a memory that burns, a secret that feels like it's branded into my very skin, and I know it's not just mine to carry. The guys behind me bear it too. Their silence is deafening, their usual banter replaced by the crunch of leaves underfoot, a sound that seems to echo the breaking of something vital between us all. When we reach the clearing, Tom sets to work building the fire without a word. His movements mechanical, precise, as if he's channeling every ounce of emotion into the task. The rest of us stand there, awkward and useless, watching as sparks finally catch, and the flames begin to lick at the wood, casting an orange glow over our faces. We sit around the fire, the heat a stark contrast to the cold dread settling into my bones. The crackle of the blaze fills the void where conversation should be, but it can't drown out the suffocating weight of what we're all hiding. I steal glances at the others. Jake's hands are clenched into fists on his knees. Ethan stares blankly into the flames. Ryan's face is still pale as a ghost. And Caleb's usual charm is nowhere to be found, his expression tight and guarded. We're all trapped in this moment, prisoners of our own guilt, and I can feel the unspoken truth pressing against us like a dam about to burst. Tom finally breaks the silence, his voice cutting through the night with a calm that feels more dangerous than any shout. Did something happen while I was gone? His question is direct, point blank, and it slices through me like a knife. There's an edge to his tone, a sharpness that tells me he already suspects, and it freezes me where I sit. My mouth goes dry, my heart slamming against my ribs, and I can't find the words to answer. I look to the guys, desperate for someone to say something, anything, but they avoid my gaze, their guilt painted across their faces as clear as day. Jake shifts uncomfortably. Ethan's jaw tightens even further. Ryan looks like he might bolt into the woods, and Caleb just stares at the ground, his usual smoothness failing him. The fire pops and hisses, the only sound for what feels like forever, and I know I can't hide from this. I have to tell him. It's the only way forward, even if it means losing everything I've built with him over these past 18 years. Tears sting my eyes as I force myself to speak, my voice barely above a whisper, trembling with the weight of what I'm about to confess. Tom, I did something I can't take back. While you were out there, things went too far with the guys. It was a mistake, a terrible, stupid mistake, and I'm so sorry. The words spill out, raw and jagged, each one tearing at me as I say it. I can't look at him, can't bear to see the hurt or anger I know must be there, so I stare at the fire instead, watching the flames blur through the tears now streaming down my face. I brace myself for his reaction, expecting him to explode, to walk away, to tell me it's over right here in this desolate clearing. My hands tremble in my lap, and I feel like I'm on the edge of shattering completely, waiting for the blow I know I deserve. But it doesn't come. Instead, there's just silence, a long, agonizing stretch of nothing as Tom sits there, his gaze fixed on the fire. I risk a glance at him, and the sight of his face, stoic, unreadable, but with a pain flickering in his eyes, cuts deeper than any words could. After what feels like an eternity, don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment if you enjoyed this story. This will help us create more engaging stories for you.